to their opponents. Last week they skated by Houston in what was a game that they very well could have lost. They escaped with the win here, a game they should have won. They are sent packing with the L. Dak 23 of 30. Trevor Lawrence threw it 42 times for 318, 4 touchdowns, had a costly fumble that looked like it might cost his team the game, but in the end, they score some more points, they tie the ball game, and they win it via the defense in overtime. All right, Leger Douzable, Rick Spielman breaking this one down as well, fellas. Unbelievable outcome here for the Cowboys, and I think 120 minutes of football tells a story about this team, and not just this 60. They've been struggling here in late game scenarios and closing games out. The week prior, it was them not coming out of the gates. I guess I'll just ask you the question right now, Leger. Who are the Dallas Cowboys at this point in the season?
That's a good question. This is a team that has struggled to finish, like you said, Musso. And it's a team that we know what their weakness is on defense. We know they can get after the passer. They're opportunistic as far as getting turnovers, but they can't stop the run at all. Jacksonville almost ran for 200 yards this game. That is a glaring weakness, and we talked about this earlier on the show, right? When you're going into the playoffs, teams that run the ball usually are teams that are going to be the more physical teams and win games in the playoffs. And that is a glaring issue for this Dallas Cowboys team. I mean, this game literally should have been over. Jacksonville got back in this game when it was 27-17 when Dak Prescott threw an errant throw and was intercepted. At the end right there, I don't really put that on Dak Prescott. It kind of went off Noah Brown's arm, and Rayshon Jennings was just in the right place, right time, was able to scoop the ball up before it hit the ground and scores a touchdown to win the game. But this Dallas Cowboys team, right, you have to be concerned about this run defense and then just finishing games.
Rick, as you take stock of the Cowboys right now, I'd love to get your point of view on where this team is at this current juncture, coming off these last 2 weeks of really head-scratching performances when they could very well be at the top of this conference.
Yeah, no, and I agree. The run defense, I mean, you gave up 192 yards rushing against a Jacksonville Jaguars team, and ETN looked like he was running up and down the field and almost hit his head on the goalpost a few times. But, you know, the other guy you have to give credit to is Trevor Lawrence. And Dallas is going to have to play good quarterbacks like this. And I think Trevor Lawrence has really evolved. Even though he made some mistakes, a bad interception and that fumble, he kept battling and he threw the ball and he threw for 4 touchdowns. And Dallas is going to have to rely on their defense. And that's what they've done most of the year. I know they can run the ball with Zeke and with Pollard. You know, Dak Prescott can throw the ball. CeeDee Lamb had a big game today. It looked like he was open all day and made big plays in the passing game for him. But they have to secure the defensive front and the defensive side of the ball. And if you would have said that 4 or 5 weeks ago, you would have said Dallas has a championship defense. I don't know if we can still say that as of today.
503 total yards is going to make anybody question a defense, whether it's on the ground, through the air. Dallas is giving it up in chunks right now, and you really got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps because you got a Philadelphia team, and what could, if you win those 2 games, be a game with a ton of implications at the top of the conference, Leger. We said they play to their competition here. Yeah. That's a good thing if you're playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. The bad thing is you're playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and be who you want to be. What do the leaders got to say in this locker room right now after coming off 2 games where you're not impressed with your win, you're obviously not impressed with your loss?
Yeah, this is a divisional matchup. Nobody should have to say anything, Moose. These guys should be ready to go to war on Christmas Eve versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, that Philadelphia team is going to come in there with a lot of piss and vinegar, too, because they went to toe with the Chicago Bears team that everybody thought they were going to blow out. That game kind of came down to the end. So we saw Jalen Hurts kind of banged up in this game. We'll see what his status is for this week. But this is a divisional game. Nobody should have to get you up for this game. And Rick, you can attest to this because you know your extensive years in the NFL. Like, those divisional games, they mean more, right? This is a late December game with playoff implications. Now, again, they kind of hurt themselves by losing this game as far as maybe trying to potentially upseed the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think the Eagles will lose the number 1 seed. But again, at the end of the day, this is the divisional game. And if you have aspirations to beat the Eagles maybe in the playoffs, this is something that you can send a message to them like, all right, we know you're the number 1 seed, but when you play the Dallas Cowboys, this is the type of football you're going to get. So nobody should have to say anything. You should be ready for this game come Christmas Eve.
Rick, do you share that feeling? It's a divisional game, season really hanging in the balance here. Obviously, Dallas going to look like a playoff team here when it's all said and done, but who are you going to be when you head to the playoffs? Is that what you're looking to learn here on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, especially on Christmas Eve and on national TV and two teams that I don't think like each other very well, you get an opportunity to set the tone and to do it in front of a national audience. And if you go and embarrass yourself or not playing your best football, that may carry into the playoffs because you're probably going to have to play them at some point again. But if you have an opportunity to go on national TV in a division game that has playoff implications this game will have, then you better set the tone or else you may get embarrassed when you get into the playoffs.
And there are no moral victories in this league. Not much can be taken away from this one for the Dallas Cowboys, who walk with a loss after having this game in hand in the first half, really doing what they wanted to. Trevor Lawrence leads his team back here, 318 yards, 4 total touchdowns, and 34 fantasy points. Going to be your headliner alongside Zay Jones. More HQ coming.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.